mother-in-law made for me actually, probably about 10 years ago or something, but there's some pictures of what we do, the orchard, the family, that sort of thing. So as I'm talking, I'll just pass it around. Can everyone hear me all right? Yeah. Okay, cool. I live on an orchard which was owned by my stepfather for pretty much since the 60s. I moved up to Oratia when I was 15, 16. And he used to grow apples, stone fruit, those tamarillos, a few feijoas as well. Those sort of fruits that during the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s actually worked quite well in Oratia. It got to the point where the orcharding became beyond him, and so my wife and I bought the property off him in about the year 2000, and we planted the first feijoas about 2005. My wife at the time had our second child, so I managed to get 2 weeks paternity leave off work, and instead of using that time to support her, I planted 500 trees instead.
Spoken like a true Kiwi bloke.
Yeah, like a good true, exactly. So that's how I know how many years we've had the trees, all right? They're as old as my second son. So we've got 3 children. They're aged now 15, 13, 11. I make sure that during harvest time it's a family thing, so they help out in the shed. It's a bit of a struggle getting them to help out outside that time, but I've started paying them, so that kind of adds a bit of incentive. Feijoas. So we've now got about 800 trees. I've got about 500 producing trees. There's 550 producing trees. There's about 250 which are 3 years old. A mix of the first trees that we planted at the time were a variety called Unique. Most Feijoas varieties require 2 different varieties to pollinate, but there are there's one self-pollinating variety that's unique. It's called a unique variety. They're medium size, sort of early to medium in terms of where it falls in the season. And I've got, 300 or 350 of those trees. The other varieties we've got are the later varieties which come out of Waimea nurseries in Nelson. They're the big ones, they're early. They're called Kakariki, Kaiteriteri and Anatoki. So they're the big ones, and you can only buy those, I believe you can only buy those commercially, or at least you could a few years ago. Each year we produce about 10 tonne of 500, so roughly 20 odd kgs per tree. And I estimate 10 to 15% fall on the ground. So each tree is producing probably 23, 24 kilos, something like that. We export about half our crop, and that goes up to California mostly, a little bit over to Australia. Australia's becoming a little bit harder to get into. So at the moment, California takes everything we can export. There's only about, at my understanding, there's only about 5 or 6 exporters in New Zealand, 5 or 6 orchards exporting. It's not all that easy to do because you've got real issues around biosecurity, both leaving port and entering port into a country. So the fruit get checked when they leave New Zealand by MPI, and then when they arrive in America, California, they get really thoroughly checked there as well. So the issue you have is with bugs being on the fruit, in particular mealybug. And so what we do with every single fruit is after it gets graded gets air gunned. So we air gun every single fruit. So our fruit get washed. They go through a process. After they're picked, they get washed, they get brushed and polished. They then get graded for size and quality, and then they get air gunned. They get packed into a plix. They get stickered, and then they end up going into market. So that's kind of our process around now. It's about 3 years ago. We had one dead mealybug found in a consignment, and they destroyed about 800 trays of fruit. It was about $20,000 worth of fruit, and the bugs were dead, and that would just happen to be inside the fruit. So there is quite a lot of risk around exporting, which is why probably not many do it. We have got another issue arriving on the horizon now, which is guava moth. Just in the last 4 or 5 months, for the first time, we found guava moth in the orchard. And if we can't control that population, that'll most likely prohibit us from exporting, simply for those reasons, because they'll find the bug. And guava moth itself is not a prohibited insect in the States, but there's 12 other moths which look pretty close to it, which are, so if you're an inspection agent in the States and you see this, chances are you'll go, actually I'm just going to, it falls too hard basket. 80% of our income comes through export, so we're just kind of figuring out what do we do with that. We've got plant and food research. They've been funded by MPI to do quite a bit of study into guava moth, a 3-year study program, and they've got a number of orchards they're looking at and running some trials to see what they can do to try and combat the guava moth. Currently there are no sprays registered in New Zealand for guava moth, and fruit, with the moth burrowing into the fruit anyway, it's kind of questionable as to how effective sprays would be. Our preference is to not use sprays if we can help it. So the other thing that they're trialling is just mass trapping, so putting lots of traps out to try and manage population numbers. Disruption, so disruption mating. So they put another pheromone out there and it disrupts the mating program. 1, 2, and then the other thing which they potentially will look at is some sort of biocontrol, so some sort of other insect or worm or something which they might introduce to try and control it. So it's early days, it's kind of a wait and see for us. We're seeing what that looks like. Yeah, what else? Been doing it 14 years. Like I say, it's a family thing for us. I'm passionate about, I love the outdoors. I also work for an organisation called QE2 Trust. I don't know if any of you have heard of QE2, but we provide protection on, private land protection on areas of significant ecological value. People have got a nice bush block or a wetland or par site or a something of cultural significance. We provide legal protection and perpetuity for that. So I spend a lot of my time going and having cups of tea with really interesting people, walking through forest and bush which not many other people can access. And so yeah, I enjoy the outdoors. So kind of orcharding fits in with that as well. Yeah, I mean, other than that, that's kind of what we do. I don't want to go on for too long.
What do you fertilise with?
What I fertilise with? So I'll put just a general sort of NPK mix on spring. Yep, just fertiliser pellets. Blow corn, I think is what I used this year.
Okay.
And then, depending on how the season's looking, maybe in February I might go and use a seaweed product, Waxel,
Oh, yeah.
WXOL, and just foliage seaweed sprayer. But yeah.
And what age are the trees that are producing 20 kilos?
So it's 20 kilos across the average. So I've got one block, my big block's 14, got about 350 trees which are about 14 years old. And the other one's about 150 trees. They're the Kakariki and the Anatoki. They're the big ones. They're about 8 or 9 years old,
Oh, yeah.
maybe 10 now. And they're probably getting close to similar sort of volumes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's quite a difference in age. Yeah.
Yeah. The difference is the Kakariki and the Anatoki are they're big fruit. Yeah, really big, so large.
Lovely.
And they're early to market as well. So you get paid pretty much on the size and when you come to market.
From your flowers. Here's a plant for you, a bug for you to identify.
Oh,
Oh, they're ever so common.
I'll
Don't
pass.
know it?
No, sorry.
You said that you had just found the guava moth. Was that in the last of last year's fruit? Or,
Yes.
yes. I was
Yeah.
wondering whether it was on another type of fruit.
Yeah,
It
about
was in the Feijoas.
yes, yeah. Well, actually didn't find any in the Feijoas, but we during the season, the last 3 or 4 years, we've got traps out, monitoring traps.
Oh, yes, so that's how you found it.
And
Yes.
we check them, and then, yeah, for the first time, because, I mean, guava, I don't know if you know the history of guava moth, it's been in New Zealand for about 25 years, up north,
Slowly
and
working down.
it's worked its way down. It's now as far south as, I found it down Thames, in Waikato.
So I presume you would pick up all the fruit that drops on the ground?
Yeah, well they say that's how it impacts it, is any fruit that drops on the ground early, you get it away because it's been infested. Yeah, I mean we haven't had that problem yet because it
No.
wasn't in our season this year, but potentially, yeah, we could do that next year.
One more question. You said that you brushed and polished the Feijoas before you sent them away overseas.
Mm.
What did you polish them with? Just natural?
Yeah,
brush?
they just go with brushes,
Oh,
roller
yes.
brushes.
And that's shown them up naturally?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yes.
that's mainly for parents really.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, Sue.
So lady down the back.
And what about the pruning? How do you get on with pruning? I find whenever I try to shape my trees, then about 6 more branches come out, but we cut one back. So it's open out, aren't they?
Yeah. Pruning, yeah, I'll take at least 50% of the foliage off each. So as soon as the season finishes, we start pruning. And yeah, prune them right back. If you're shaping a tree from young, we go with a cocktail glass shape. So the main trunk comes up, and then 3, 4, 5 main leaders off it, and you want to cut the middle of it out. So the birds, because they're primarily pollinated by birds, and so you want the birds to be able to fly through, and also if you cut the middle out, it gets more light in. And I've actually got it to the point. I mean, everyone's a little bit different, but I've got mine to the point where there's almost two main sides to the tree, nothing in the middle, and there's 2 picking bays on the tree as well. So the picket, because you want the pickers to be able to get in and pick the fruit without knocking them. And I've got 4 or 5 lovely ladies. They're New Zealand residents, but they're from Tuvalu originally. Strong as oxes, work really hard, they're quite big, and so and they're in their 50s and 60s, but beautiful, beautiful people. And so they're quite big. So you don't want them kind of knocking the fruit off when they go in. So in February, I'll go through and just do another small prune as well, just making sure there's any regrowth has been taken away, and you can get into the fruit, get into the tree, to the heart of the tree, without knocking fruit off.
You say you prune in February, well, there's still fruiting. The fruit is already there, but
Yeah, main prune during the winter. So when the season's finished, it's the main prune, because by May the trees are really full of foliage, and so that's when I do the big prune. But in February, any regrowth that's coming back into the middle, or going to inhibit the pickers, I just go through and chop that off as well. Yeah, there's generally not a lot of fruit on that regrowth.
Do you keep them low, Paul?
Yes, yeah, no ladder work.
And what height would you say
Yeah.
Your height?
Yeah, about my height.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just anything that go as high as you want, but just avoid any ladder work. We do, yeah.
Cool, thanks.
Can you have
Sorry.
favourite variety for you?
Tea? It's there's a really tasty one called Poanamu. We used to have a couple of hundred of those, but I pulled them out. They're just hard to grow for some reason. But the skin's not too thick. The fruit's sweet. But apart from that, the new big ones are quite nice. The skin's a bit thicker, but the fruit are massive. So, yeah.
when you say massive fruit, how big is the fruit? The biggest fruit that you
I've weighed one at 250 grams. Yeah. Looks more like an avocado.
Is that what the export market wants, or is that?
No.
No.
No, not the export. A little bit up into Asia, they'll take some of the big stuff. But generally, by the time, so export's really labour intensive. As you can imagine, each fruit's touched 4 or 5 times, and it's air gunned, and there's a lot of scrutiny around it. So that adds a lot of cost in. So we charge quite a significant premium for that. By the time the agent then takes a cut and it's air freighted, so it'll be often on a plane from the tree to a plane within 48 hours, and so it's super fresh. And then tree to market, actually to LA within 48 hours.
Gosh.
And sorry, where was I going with that? Lots of labour. Oh yes, and so it's air freighted, and so the cost is quite significant in California. So they buy them by the piece there, $4 or $5 a Feijoa, and so for that reason, they don't want a tray with. So we measure the tray size on count. The big fruit we can get to 25 count in a tray, 25 pieces of, and then small ones you can get up to 42. And they're the little guys, and so because they're selling by piece, they prefer the, your 36s, 39s, 42s, because it makes it look cheaper. You know what I mean? That's hard to explain.
So they buy by
They
the
get more
box
for their
from
money.
you,
They buy by the box,
and then they sell by the piece.
sell by the piece.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
So it would be
more
up-
fruit's cheaper per fruit.
More fruit is cheaper per fruit. You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a quick question, if you had at home, like you didn't have a massive orchard, if you just had 2 or 3 trees, if for some reason you only had one, can you still have fruit with one, or do you need more than one?
Yeah, great question. It depends depends on a couple of things. One is if it's that variety, if it's a unique variety, unique is self-pollinating, they don't need another variety to cross-pollinate. That said though, and don't quote me on this, but I'm not sure if you need the male-female as well. And secondly, and thirdly, a neighbour might have a tree or something which it's cross-pollinating on. Yeah, but if you best way of guaranteeing your fruit is get a couple, 2 or 3 of different varieties, unless it's unique.
I have Apollo, and that's, I have only one tree, and that's self-fertile.
Oh, it's self-fertile?
Yeah.
Apollo.
Yeah. Apollo can be.
Okay.
Got a neighbour.
No, it was, I bought it because it was self-fertile.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
And-
I agree with that. I've seen isolated Apollos and they fruit quite well.
Okay.
They're nice fruit.
Yeah, Apollo's nice fruit. Yes, Anne-Marie.
Paul, how do you manage picking them? Do you have a net under them or shade closet?
No.
Because that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's not like kiwi fruit where you go through and strip pick. We visit the tree every 2 to 3 days, so 2 or 3 times a week for 8 weeks, and just it's touch pick. So you feel just when it's right, applying just a little pressure. If you pick it too early, it won't ripen up, and if you miss it, it'll be on the ground within 2 days. So you kind of got to just get the feel just right. Yeah, so you apply just a little pressure. You soon get the feel for it. What's enough pressure for the fruit to come off, but we can't let it just drop once it's on the ground. In fact, we just leave it now when it's on the ground. There's no market for groundies unless we can pick them up and try and. Sometimes the kids go down and sell them outside the service station. But yeah, nets. Some people do use nets. The problem with that is definitely no good for export. Really shouldn't use it for local either, because they can bruise as they come down. They either hit a branch on their way down, they land on another fruit, or they land on nets. Still have wooden structures every now and along to the infrastructure that holds the net in place. So there's a number of reasons as to why that fruit can bruise, and it's just hard to. It's difficult to get around and prune the tree, and you've got wires and nets and yeah.
That Dick started the whole commercial process because there were just seeding trees around, but the DSR had a collection of triumph, Coolidge and Mammoth.
Oh right, okay,
And Dick was a very, very clever grafter.
right,
And he managed, so he sowed the seed and he grafted with the variety. So we had a whole stock row. And then down the road was top blowing nurseries.
yes,
Do you remember?
yeah, we were top line, yeah.
And they used all that stock for cutting materials, so they grew it by cutting.
Okay,
But we found the grafted trees were more stable because the cuttings tended to be.
Right.
But anyway, that's how the whole industry started.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't realise that.
And also we found that the Feijoa tree is very tough to grow, and also actually, I told that story before, I think we were there, that we had tamarillos and they got blasted by Whakapā.
It's offer, yeah.
We had to give them one more chance to breed tamarillos in between the Feijoas, because it takes 5 years for the Feijoas, like apples, you know,
Yeah.
to get your crop. So we didn't know what to pull out because the tamarillos, they thrived together with the Feijoa. And what was that telling us? Maybe there's something in the roots that sort of prevent Phytophthora, because there's plenty of Phytophthora around, but somehow the tamarillos didn't succumb to it.
Yeah, the Feijoas didn't succumb to it.
Yeah, well, it's just, the story was told because of the cows.
Yeah, yeah,
Same boat.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's similar. Yeah, the Cody one's the Phytophthora agath.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem to,
Yeah, yes and no. I've got Phytophthora in my Feijoas in the last 18 months. Yeah, just come up. But Rusty used to have, my stepfather used to have tamarillos in that block where the Feijoas were. So it's obviously in the soil and something's stimulated it.
so did you grow them together?
No,
No.
no. But yeah, I've probably lost 20 trees to Phytophthora.
Terrible.
Um,
Priority is that
lots.
now for
Yeah. But apart from that, Feijoas are pretty hardy generally, and they are the superfruit. I've got to say, in every single way. So in terms of their inherent benefits, I mean they're high in vitamin C, folic acid, dietary fibre, antioxidants as well. And then they've also, I don't know if anyone get the Orchardist magazine? No, it's put out by 14Z. I think the February issue, maybe, or the March, there was the cover article was a PhD student who'd done a 3-year study on the skins of Feijoas and found antifungal properties in them. So I don't know if anyone knows about fungus. Apparently it kills, it's like I'm going to start talking about something I know nothing about now, but anyway, it kills like hundreds of thousands of people every year, fungal-based diseases.
Oh.
And so they found this property in Feijoa skins, which is quite
So
exciting.
you're telling us we should be eating the skins?
Eat the skins, yeah. All the properties that you find in, so if someone's entrepreneurial, you'll, all the properties that I said that's found in the flesh is found in the skin in greater concentrations, and then it's actually found in the foliage of the plant in even greater concentrations. So some sort of nutrimetics, if you could get the foliage, Feijoa leaf tea, yeah. Find a way to extract the goodness out of the leaves. And
How big is your staff that you have there? Like how many people do you have on your staff? That you have your family, your children, the ladies picking the fruit?
yeah, for 5 or 6 weeks there. So during harvest, we've got it's about it's probably about, including me, there's about 6 or 7 of us involved in harvest. There's a couple of pickers and about 4 of us in the pack house. And then that's, like I say, that's about for 6 weeks. And then outside that time, this is the first year I haven't pruned myself, so I've got one of those ladies back, and she's pruned for about 3 months, maybe 30 hours a week, 30, 40 hours a week for 3 months pruning. But apart from that, it's just me. Yep.
Coming back to the antifungal properties.
Yeah.
The myrtle rust is looming in the back. So the Feijoa is a myrtle family, isn't it?
I think they've actually found NPI decided that they didn't find anything, or there's no record of myrtle rust coming on Feijoa, even though it's Feijoa family. And when you think about it, myrtle rust originated in South America, and Feijoa comes from South America. So I suspect plants originating from South America are more likely to have innate resistance to myrtle rust.
Quite potentially, yeah. I did read the same thing around myrtle rust and
But
Feijoas.
things that originate in other areas are possibly more susceptible. That's why someone used it later, New Zealand ones, like the jambos, the Eugenia jambos, that's apparently just about wiped out in Hawaii. But
Yes.
some of them are very susceptible, but possibly the South American plants originating South America, maybe, or is it not? Maybe.
Brian.
Well, across the valley from you at my place, my pukekos have decided they quite like Feijoas too. So I don't know if my pukekos go to your place or not, but
They do.
Don't tell them.
They do. They come to our place. We have a pukeko problem at the moment. Yes.
so what am I going to do?
Oh well.
Shotgun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
Well, it just blows the feathers out of their behinds and they run away laughing.
Shotgun.
yeah. I think I'm pretty sure there is a season on pukekos.
Yep.
That's what I believe.
And you can shoot if they're destroying your crop. There is that clause, that is a clause in the shooting season that if they're destroying your crop on your property,
Yeah.
they're having a shot.
Yeah. If they're destroying your crop. What were you saying, sorry?
You get an order of council for shooting them.
You can get an order from council.
Yeah, I had one.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the answer. I've got just a high-powered air rifle, and I've got a couple, but I must be a lousy shot, I think, because
You're not the only one.
Practice makes
It's a lousy shot too.
All right. Yeah. My boys try and get out and get them as well. They are a problem. But I figure with the amount of fruit that drops on the ground anyway, they're probably the least of my